Welcome to the Public Voice Salon. We're an open dialogue on education, the arts, and social change. And we're so delighted to be with our friend Richard La Rovere, a wonderful artist in Jersey City, New Jersey, which is where we're filming today at the Jersey City Public Library. Jersey City has been called America's Golden Door. It's been called the sixth borough because it's so close to New York City. It's been called Chilltown, and I don't think there's anybody who really has brought the beauty and the wonder of the natural and human-made landscapes of this city, out into the world better than this man, Richard La Rovere. Richard grew up on Ogden Street in Jersey City. Ogden Avenue, I'm sorry. He's a longtime Jersey City resident. He's the third generation Jersey City resident.
Yes.
And his work, we're going to look at some of his work during this dialogue. We're going to let Richard talk about himself, about his biography, and how he developed into the artist he is today, and just have like a basically open dialogue about his work and life in Jersey City. So welcome so much to the show, Richard.
Thank you.
We're so glad to have you on. And talk a little bit, maybe just start about your biography. Growing up on Ogden Avenue, what was it that brought you into the art world and made you want to be an artist?
My parents told me that by the time I was 3 years old, I was on the floor just drawing every day like crazy. So I think that's kind of what started it. I was doing that in earnest for years. At some point, when I was age 15, I took private painting lessons in a place called the Upstairs Art Gallery, run by a woman by the name of Margaret Colavito. She ran a gallery for 50 years. She started in 1964 and it ended almost until she died. She died in 2020, so she had ended around 2014. That's a long time. So she was an important and integral part of the community as well, culturally and historically. So she had a gallery. She ran painting courses, and she also ran an organization called the Hudson Artists of New Jersey, where they would have shows once a year, and a juried show where they would give prizes, first, second, and third prizes and so on in different categories to different artists. So she was one influence. Another major influence in my life was my landlord, believe it or not. His name was Theodore Conrad. And he was a architectural model maker and did work with major architects around the world. And even though he owned our building, he also had his workshop right around the corner from where we were. And one of the things he did was he always talked about, he loved all the old architecture. He didn't really like the modern, even though he was born into the advent of the modern as we know it today. And he was a civic activist. He, along with several other people, including Morris Pessin, formed an organization called the Committee to the Citizens Committee of Hudson County. And the Citizens Committee of Hudson County quite literally performed miracles. They were the ones who created Liberty State Park. That's a miracle in itself. They had also saved the Brennan Courthouse from being demolished to be a parking lot in 1966.
The Brennan Courthouse?
Yes.
Okay.
The Brennan Courthouse is going to be torn down, and the one that's there now, which they're also going to currently tear down, was going to be in its place, and that was going to be the parking lot for the new one. So it took them 20 years to save that. They also saved the Lowe's Theater later on. So between saving the Lowe's Theater, the Brennan Courthouse, and creating Liberty State Park, those are like the three major things that the committee was in charge of and what they did. And a lot of those papers are archived in the New Jersey Room. So I grew up around all these different people, even though they were maybe old enough to be my father or my grandfather, with all the goings-on that went on, trying to save these buildings, how they tried to save, at that time, the land that's now Liberty State Park. They always tried to save it from either industrial development or some kind of commercial development, even though that's still going on to this day. But that time it was even more critical because they wanted to make the whole thing industrial or commercial. So, they eventually got a park. You're still trying to save parts of the park and so on.
Let's talk about the art itself, though. And what is it that, in terms of your influences in the art world, Edward Hopper,
yes,
one of your influences, the great painter from Manhattan, from Greenwich Village, and just thinking in terms about art and creativity. What is, an artist looks at the world differently and says, "Gee, this is something that I want to capture. I want to put this on paper. I want to." What was it inside of you that was driving you?
Getting back to my major influences, before I went to college, Ms. Calavito running the gallery, Mr. Conrad running the Citizens Committee, and that group. I guess there was a merging of art and looking at the environment around me and saying, well, why don't I create art to reflect what the world that I live in looks like? So at some point that compelled me to go out and do different plein air drawings back in the 70s and early 80s. Later on it led me to do to explore the medium of pen and ink, because pen and ink is very, very exacting. It was also an influence on the work of a local artist who died in 1910 called August Will. And he did drawings of old Jersey City. And they were all donated at some point in 1926 to the Jersey City Museum, which doesn't exist anymore. And all those drawings that were his records of what the streets looked like in Jersey City, mostly in Greenville and the General Square area, looked like at one time, we don't have anymore. Rutgers University has them. So the point is, I kind of saw myself as another version of August Will, maybe a latter-day version of August Will. He was another influence. He lived from 1832 to 1910.
So much of this local history is being gone, is being lost, and there's some wonderful articles about you that I found in Hoboken Girl and in NJ.com, NewJersey.com. Here's a quote from the Hoboken Girl article. I just want to read it. "He is not only documenting the elegance of the buildings and the life of the community, but he is also adding to the rich and colorful urban landscape himself as he paints lively scenes in local businesses." What is it that your art adds to the community?
Well, I think if an artist does a rendition of something, it makes that special. It reflects on that which the artist is, the subject that the artist's work becomes special. And the artist can give it a more personal touch, a more, his or her vision. Any more than I think a computer can do, any AI could do. I insist on doing, my work is still done by hand, still done the old-fashioned way. I always think it's best. And so that's what I continue doing.
It's a personal touch. It's resisting the technology in some way, where the computer-generated model is much easier to get, but there's, nothing will replace the actual hand and heart that you put into the work.
You need the hand, the heart, and the vision. Well, you would need that anyway if you were going to operate AI. So, in the final analysis, where does it come from? I just would rather do it by hand because I love the craft of it. I love the, where it comes from your mind, through your fingers on the pad. I think there's magic to that. Not just, typing on a keyboard.
Let's talk about Jersey City itself. Again, we're here in the New Jersey Public Library, the main branch, and which is in the Harsimus Cove neighborhood. Jersey City is really a city of neighborhoods. It's the second largest city in New Jersey after Newark. Claudia and I live in the Paulus Hook neighborhood. We moved here 3 years ago from Hoboken, and we just love it. We love our neighborhood, we love our city. There's a certain coziness in Paulus Hook, and we belong to the HPHA, the Historic Paulus Hook Association, which was created in the 70s to help preserve the architectural integrity of the neighborhood at the time against Colgate, which was looking to destroy a lot of the local heritage at that time. But you are also in the Heights, which is another lovely part of town. Then there's Journal Square, there's Greenville, there's all these different neighborhoods. Let's go around and let's start with, let's say, Journal Square. They say it's kind of coming back now, you know, the Jersey Lowies, they're restoring it, and there's supposed to be the French Pompidou Center is coming and everything. You have sort of documented that neighborhood going back to like the 1940s. Talk about your history with Journal Square.
Well, first of all, I was born in 1956, so I could pretty much say that I documented on and off the area in art maybe since the 70s. I've worked from old pictures going back to the 1890s. One of my goals at some point later on in my life in creating a portfolio of historical Jersey City was I had the assistance of the people who ran the New Jersey room, who would offer me a lot of different pictures to work from. I would bring those home and do work from them, mostly in pen and ink. And the great thing about doing pen and ink drawings is that a lot of these photographs are very, very fuzzy, maybe out of focus even, and I would just fill in the blanks, as it were. I would try and make a building look more clearly defined. I would try and make a human form look more clearly defined, and so on. The basics that come with the art, but it makes, again, it's part of that personal touch where, you know, the heart and the head come together, and you create this these images. You
used to go with your mother to Woolworth's in Journal Square?
Well, one of the pictures that I know you remembered was there used to be a concourse, and which is, well, it's been gone since the 70s, and even the bones of it is totally gone. It looked like a small European market. I remember somebody telling me, describing it that way. Like a little crowded, small European market where you had the Barricini candy store next to the pizza joint, next to the bar on one side, and then the other side you had the guy selling stockings, you had the Woolworths, you had and this was all in an area which was, the walking distance was maybe only 50, 60 feet wide. And it was very crowded there. And now there's like nobody there at all, and this is a big building just taking over the same area now. I think it's poor planning.
There was a famous bar called the Tube Bar.
That was part of the concourse.
Yeah. You used to cash your checks there?
I did, yeah. And so did other people. And, you know, maybe half the checks would go to the drinking.
Oh,
some of the guys.
Okay.
But right next door was the only business that still exists that was part of that original concourse was Three Guys from Italy, little pizzeria.
Yeah.
And that was next door to the Tube Bar. So I would go and eat lunch at the pizza place there. Three Guys from Italy now is still at Journal Square, but further up west. They're on Kennedy Boulevard. But they're the only ones still around. Everybody's gone.
20 years ago when I taught at Hudson County Community College in Journal Square, which is now the college where that's going to be the Pompidou Center, right? I taught in that building, the main campus. I used to go to lunch at Three Guys of Italy, pizza. So we have that connection.
There you go.
Wow. Let's talk about your neighborhood of the Heights, Ogden Avenue in the Heights, right? Beautiful street there. Claudia and I, when we take our walks to the Heights, we like to stroll down Ogden Avenue. I believe that's where the mayor lives too.
He does, and we have, as part of our address, as it were, on Ogden Avenue, Riverview Park is there, where you had that beautiful view of New York. I can remember growing up and you were still able to see the Verrazano Narrows Bridge, which you can't see now. because of all the buildings that are downtown. So, but you still have a view. You still have a New York and Hoboken view, which is there.
Speaking of Hoboken, you have also rendered some beautiful images of Hoboken, the famous Lackawanna train station with its Beaux Arts architecture. And
I did a series of drawings of famous Hoboken bars. Obviously Maxwell's, but Amanda's and a number of other ones, a whole series of them. And I've done a number of drawings of brownstones for people, which is one of the other things I do. I do drawings of people's houses on a commission basis.
Back, I would say, around 2012, I created this group. It's called the Evolved Urbanite, and we had a meeting in Hoboken in a bookstore, in Symposia bookstore. I don't know if you remember, but I put the flyer out and I sent the word out, and we got about 25 people and just dialoguing about how to, improve the cultural and social life of the community through business and through ethical business, in particular ethical business. And you were part of that group, and I said to myself, wow, that really showed me what a man of the community you are, caring about others. Let's talk about that too. I think that's important, especially today. We have a society, Richard, where people are at each other's throats. We have a polarization in our country. We have a lot of poisonous hatred going on. Something about your work that's very calming, it's loving, it's peaceful. It captures the beauty of what's there, Similar in some way, I'm connecting it with like a show like Mayberry, like Andy Griffith's Mayberry, which Claudia and I, we've been watching it actually. Believe it or not, we find it very soothing and healing to watch these episodes of this, rendering of small town. Well, no, I mean, Mayberry had some criticisms, obviously. There weren't enough black folk there. I mean, obviously that could be criticized. But however, there was that sense that people cared about each other. Sense of community. And I get that from your work, Richard, and I also get that from you as a person. So maybe you could talk a little bit about that, this sense of community. Yeah.
Well, I mean, when I was growing up, it was, we played stickball in the street, quite literally. You got to know your neighbors, and neighbors knew you. There was still, to that, even at that late date, and to some extent, the neighbors watched the kids and all that. Your mother called you in when it was dark. Age before computer technology and videos and so on.
Yes.
And that's kind of how that started. Later on, we have, in the Heights, we established RNA, which was Riverview Neighborhood Association, sort of like your, the one that you belong to. And we tried to fight undue development. We tried to, many different things. We fought to restore Riverview Park. If you look at Riverview Park, we got the original cast iron fountain from the 1890s, a reproduction of it back. It's beautiful. When Hurricane Sandy destroyed the gazebo, we got that back. It's even better than the one that got destroyed. And then the whole park in general got restored as well, trees and so on. So that's their crowning glory. So right now they're trying to fight a development where they want to build a 10-story building on Ogden Avenue in a parking lot. And there's nothing else around that's 8 to 10 stories, nothing. Everything is 2 and 3 stories, thank God, which is what they fought for, so that you don't have any high rises or have anything at all, to be intrusive. Matter of fact, back in the 1970s, there was a rumor going around, and I remember this, and I remember going to a meeting about it, because this was the early 70s, 73. If you're familiar with what Fort Lee looks like with all the high rises, well, they wanted to do that same thing in the Heights in Jersey City. They wanted to there was a rumor that through eminent domain, they wanted to condemn all the properties along Ogden and along Palisade, everything west of Central Avenue, tear everything the hell down, everything, and just make all these big high rises. So now this is the time before the internet, and again, you're talking about community. We really got in their cases about that. People saying, you're not going to take the house out from under me, blah, 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 and all that kind of stuff. So people thought that way then. Also at that time, one of the early fights for Liberty State Park was, there was this guy who was trying to convince the city that they wanted to make the Liberty State Park land an oil tank farm facility. Oil, just, you know, just acres and acres of oil tank farm facility, you know, like, what's that place in Bayonne? I can't think of it. You know,
Yeah, the Arthur Kill landfill area.
right,
Yeah,
right. Like
yeah.
when there was just going to be an industrial, you know, an industrial facility, in other words, okay? So, no, you know, no wetlands, no walking tour, no passive recreation, or nothing. And we had to, that was through Ted Conrad. He was sounding the alarm about this. The same with the other thing, with the high-rises, and we all went to the rescue. So he was a civic activist like that, in that sense. I remember that back then, and, you know, this manifested itself later on, too, with saving the Lowe's down the line. And then saving the courthouse. That was a 20-year fight to save that courthouse. They abandoned it in 1966, and then they got the first grants to restore it. The first grants didn't happen until 1980. So almost 20 years.
Look at these books over here, Claudia. Just take a look at these wonderful books that they're filled with your wonderful works, your drawings, your artworks. I mean, they're hanging on the walls in the library. They're hanging on the walls in various businesses and art galleries and companies who collect your work. As a growing, your client base is expanding constantly. The other day, I was walking through Jersey City, and all of a sudden there was a movie shoot going on, and I saw this. They're making a movie about the life of Bob Dylan, and they decided to transform a part of Jersey City into Greenwich Village circa early 1960s, right?
Yeah.
And I'm looking around and I'm thinking, my goodness, I feel like I'm walking in a Richard La Rovere rendering. They finally caught up with you here in Jersey City. What is that? Do you think that Jersey City is now emerging as a new hipster capital of the world in some way? What is your take on that? They say Jersey City is the next Brooklyn.
That could be.
Yeah.
Well, I'm concerned about people getting priced out, people like me in particular getting priced out, but just loads and loads of other people. Even people who were the hipsters back in the 70s and 80s who moved here and pioneered with the brownstone movement and all that. They're going to get priced out. And by whom? That's what concerns me. I mean, it's kind of unfortunate that you have a setup where in order to make something, in order to fix something up and make it look good, you have to make it more valuable, financially valuable. And in doing that, well, what do? You displace people, you make prices go up, you get rid of mom and pop stores and bring in stores where everything is more expensive and more really inaccessible. I don't know.
What would you say, Richard, looking into the camera, to the youngsters moving into the neighborhood, to the new breed of Jersey City resident, let's say, hipper, cooler type of people, what would you say to them about your work and about why your work matters and why they might want to take a look at your work?
I like to think of my work as a record, a living record of what exists now and what used to exist. It could be used as, and in some cases it has been, it can be used as a guide to recreate something older that was better. I might do a drawing of a storefront or a recreation of an old storefront, and somebody might get the idea, hey, let's take this space and create the look of an old storefront. And it may inspire someone to do something like that again, where it's something done on a human scale. I mean, I'm a great proponent of that which is of human scale, character, detail.
Yes.
And I guess what would I say to young people today? Well, I can remember a time growing up when the area was in profound decline. This part of the world here, you had nothing but acres and acres of empty buildings with broken glass windows. It really was mostly a lot like that. And you really had to kind of put your life in your hands walking around Newark Avenue. So it's not like that now. If anything, it's the other extreme. So, so it's a lot safer. It's all better looking. There's investment happening. It comes with a price, though. And I just hope that we can afford the price.
So in some ways it's a story of hope, it's a story of regeneration, it's a story of creativity.
I think so, yeah.
What fuels your creativity?
There's always hope.
Okay.
There's always hope.
Okay.
And
What gets you up in the morning these days, Richard? What's your latest and greatest project? What's happening now?
I'm actually working on a drawing of right now, I'm working on a drawing of a hair salon that's been in business for over 50 years. And it's still run by the same guy. He's in his 80s now.
Oh.
And I assume he still owns the building and all that.
Where is this?
Salon St. John. It's across the street from St. John the Baptist Church. And,
which neighborhood?
Well, that would be like almost Little India.
Okay. By Journal Square.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right next. Yeah, it's right next to the White Castle and Newark Avenue where India Square is. So he's been there that long, and I'm doing a drawing. I suggested it to him because I'm known for doing. I'm still trying to do all the landmarks that still exist, and his is going to become part of it. Because everything I do is archived in the New Jersey room, so it's going to be there forever, no matter what happens to me or what happens to any of the artwork in anybody else's hands.
I mean, in a minute we're going to take a look at these books. We just have to look at those books. This is unbelievable. I mean, you are, what a massive amount of a portfolio that you have amassed. I want to say one thing about White Manna Burgers, okay? Because I saw that you did White Manna. I want to confess to the world right now, I've never been to White Manna. I want to go to White Manna. How do you get to White Manna? Is it possible to get there? It's like on the side of a highway or something?
The one that you're thinking of, that's on the corner of Tunley Avenue and Manhattan Avenue.
Is there a bus that goes there?
There's no direct public transportation that goes there. I think you'd have to take, the closest thing to it would be to take the bus on Kennedy Boulevard that's going north, and you get off of Manhattan Avenue, then you have to walk down to Tunley. Are
their burgers worth the trip?
I would say so.
Okay.
If you can digest them.
Okay. And when did you make that picture of White Manna?
I did that for the owner. He wanted me to show it restored. It's probably still in a restoration process. But he wanted to show the whole building restored, so that's why I had the clock tower on top. That's not there now, but he wants to eventually add it, the little Art Deco clock tower that was originally there.
What year did you do that?
Oh, I don't remember, but probably.
10 years ago, 20?
Maybe 10 or so years ago.
Anthony Bourdain went there. He was one of the places that he visited for his cooking show. It's an iconic place. I mean, your work captures the iconic.
That was in the 1939 World's Fair. It was supposed to be, I think it was like part of a franchise, which I don't know if it happened or not. Where there was another one in Hackensack, and they were going to be all around the country, whatever. And it was going to be that same style, that same, with the round bar that with the stools where you would eat the burgers, kind of thing.
You're capturing.
It's like the only one left. So
Just, I think it's so important to maintain these memories and this continuity with the past, in particular at a time when things are moving so quickly into the future, and we're losing our sense of who we are.
When you're whenever there's a contemplation of development for the future, it would be great, especially if it's an area that's already been developed. It would be great to look at their past and see, well, what are the good things that were done that existed in the past, whether it's still there or not. Maybe you get something back that got lost. Maybe you enhance something that's there now. Instead of like building something totally from scratch, because this isn't Levittown. It's not like it all just kind of went up all at the same time. Everything got built here little by little by little in a 300-year period, 350-year period. So, for example, in Journal Square, we actually, because of the development that went on 100 years ago at Journal Square, we lost about 4 or 5 colonial buildings, like the Apple Tree House. So imagine the Apple Tree House and imagine 5 or 6 more of those buildings in the same area, because that's where, when you said Journal Square, Bergen Square is where the whole state of New Jersey started. Literally started there. The first school in the state of New Jersey is that number 28 school, which is there now. The land is still used as a school. And also the land was also, that area was also used for the first courtroom. They had their first trials and their first courtroom in a building around there as well.
Yeah, Claudia and I went to the Apple Tree House last year, and they're actually having wonderful events there in the backyard. Yeah. They have plays, they have things there going on. Is that where the new museum is for Jersey City?
Yes, it is.
Okay, are you involved with that, Richard?
Indirectly, yeah.
Okay, okay. Wow. This is the godfather, ladies and gentlemen, of Jersey City history. He's the man, he makes it happen, behind the scenes, low-key, humble, wonderful person. And we love your work, Richard, and we love you. You're a wonderful man. So now, I would be remiss, Richard, if I didn't talk a little bit about your technique. Because if people are watching us who want to learn something about the process of your art, in terms of your tools, in terms of the material, what is it, acrylic? You use acrylic and pencil, and what is your...
Well, I have used oil and acrylic in the past.
Uh-huh.
In particular for the drawings that I've done of Jersey City, or any of the street scenes in general that I've done, or architectural things, what I had done was I would use a photograph. In some cases, as a shortcut, I would use a light box, old-fashioned light box, just to get the dimensions, any other general details that were there. Whatever is not there, and I know is there, that's where the artistry comes in. Wherever windows are, whatever a person looks like in perspective and so on, whatever was needed to really finish off the scene. I would do all that in pencil. Then I would take my pencil drawing and I would trace my pencil drawing to do the pen and ink. Because pen and ink is like hard to erase. So, but you can always erase and make all kinds of revisions with an eraser with a pencil. So that's what I would do. And then I would make, I would have with my one black and white original, I would make copies of that. And I would keep it black and white, and then I would take one of the copies that's black and white and work on it in color if I so desired. So that way I have a black and white one and a color one. They both, I like having both because they're both different aesthetics. Years ago there were artists back in the 1880s up until maybe the 30s or 40s or 50s who made their whole careers just on doing black and white pen and ink drawings and nothing else. So, for magazines, storybooks, what have you. So it makes a powerful statement, and hardly anybody that I know, even when I Google it, does any realistic pen and ink work.
My father also is an artist who does work similar to yours. He does realistic work. He does landscapes. He paints houses. Mostly now he's working in the town of Ocean Grove, New Jersey, which is where a lot of Victorian architecture, beautiful. From Edgewater, that's where he began as an artist, painting like the Palisades and the Hudson River and that sort of thing. So both of you are realistic painters. Let me ask you this question in terms of your thoughts about the avant-garde world of art. What is your, in terms of feelings about it, like Andy Warhol and all that far-out stuff, surrealism, do you have a taste for it, but it's just not for you? Or, I'm always interested in the relationship.
I guess I could say I find it interesting, but it's not for me. I could say that.
Okay, yeah. I see.
I think the daringness of it is great. I still like to do what I'm doing because I feel the need to. I just feel the need to record as much as I can, whenever I can, of Jersey City as much as I can. So I think I'm still in the Edward Hopper category. And if you look at the life of Edward Hopper and his wife, Jo, they were activists too. They were activists in Greenwich Village.
Yes.
and trying to save certain places and all that. Besides, him doing his thing. So, and he was very avant-garde also in the way he created his compositions. I mean, to me, an abstract painting, I guess it's just my sarcastic view of it, but when I look at an abstract painting and I look at a representational painting, I look at that representational painting and I say, there's like 2,000 abstract paintings in that representational painting. And so that took a lot more effort, that took a lot more skill in trying to render an image and make it look interesting, make empty space look interesting. And an abstract, it's just anything and everything.
Wow. Did you see the recent Channel 13 did a program on American Masters of the Hoppers as a couple?
I haven't seen that recently.
You've got to watch it. Yeah, it was on a couple of months ago.
Wow.
I reached out to my parents. I texted my parents to watch it because my parents are both artists.
Wow.
And they're in their early 80s. And he's still active, still painting, and they met in art class at Fort Lee High School in 1956.
Wow.
And they're still together, and I'm one of their creations, by the way. So yeah, and I think that, Richard, it would be nice if more people in this city even knew about you and your work. I could see you going around giving talks around, for the young people to give that sense of continuity, because a lot of people are coming to Jersey City from other places and they don't really have a sense of the past, present, future kind of thing.
You'd be surprised how once you engage them in the conversation on local history, how interested they become, and you tell them stories.
Yes.
Because I would have to be the one to engage in it first. But a lot of these people do come here, they would like to have a memento or a souvenir, as it were, of the street that they currently live on, or I don't know, a street or a building that one of their elders lived in, and so on. So there's always that connection of some sort. And again, if they're brand new here from God knows where, they have a reference for their history there. So their history is going to start here. So this is part of that too.
I think you're about to be discovered, my friend. I think you're about to go big.
Wow. Great. I can hardly wait.
Let's take a look at these books over here. So I want to explain, this is another very interesting aspect of Richard and his work. Here is a flyer that he made and literally went door to door, knocking on doors, engaging with strangers, like a door-to-door salesman. And how did that work? Yeah.
Well, what happened was, at some point I eventually got a job with a scenic designer in Hoboken, where he hired an artist to do interiors for commercials, an interior of a kitchen for whatever, a soap commercial, or an interior of a bathroom for a shampoo commercial, whatever, living room. And we worked in pen and ink. So it kind of reinforced my notion of working in pen and ink. So anyway, he would hire me on a freelance basis to do work for him. Yeah. So that compelled me, because he would always wanted me to be on call all the time, and it's like, I couldn't be on call all the time because he didn't need me all the time, but he always wished I was. I thought, well, I love what I did with him. How about if I do something like this and create a flyer like this and go door to door and do drawings for other people?
So you knocked on the doors, people opened the doors. What did you say? Knock, knock.
Well, it depends on who I spoke to. I went to mostly real estate people were receptive because they use my work as closing gifts. That's
because they're sales. They're into sales. Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
And when they make a sale, they always like to have a closing gift. And obviously, I'm drawing houses. It's my specialization. So that led into some of what you see here. But
can you get me a job selling encyclopedias door to door? I'm looking for a job, I would like to, the old knock on the door salesman routine.
Yeah, we don't need a computer.
I love it. Now look at over here. We got these books here, and these are all filled with Richard's drawings here, with his paintings, drawings. You don't say paintings, do you say paintings?
No, they're drawings.
They're drawings. They're called drawings. Some of them are in black and white, some are in color. Oh, look at this.
These are commissions.
Is this Jersey City?
Yeah. This was a commission I did.
Okay.
This showed, this wasn't built yet at the time.
Mm-hmm.
So this was a concept drawing.
Okay.
I've done loads, and so was this.
I see.
These were both concept drawings for advertising for the realtors.
The realtors, okay.
Same with these.
Same with
too.
these. Let's look at the next book here, Volume 2. Volume 2. What does it say? Joseph?
California, that's right across the street.
Oh, yeah.
That's there, that's still there.
Oh, this is the City Hall. Look at this one here. This
Yeah.
is, take a look at that. Wow.
They paid me to do this
Gorgeous.
when they got this, that year in 2007.
Yeah.
The sister city gave them this monument, which is still there. So they asked me to do this drawing for them.
Wonderful. We love the City Hall building. It's gorgeous. It's gorgeous.
And here's our Magna Realty. Here's our beautiful Brennan Courthouse that got saved from demolition.
Oh, look at that. Okay.
This is like one of the drawings I did for myself. It
Beautiful.
wasn't a commission.
Beautiful. All right, let's continue along. Volume 3. What's in here? Oh, look at this.
This was a concept which never got off the ground.
Okay.
Like a series of murals that were done on Central Avenue.
Central Avenue.
So this would show Central Avenue, the corner of Central and Griffith, and then this whole thing would be a mural painted here, for example.
Okay.
And then this would have been the same thing. I'll show
Gotcha.
this in color.
Yeah. Okay.
All right, well, maybe it's not here.
Yeah.
And mural
All right.
and so on.
Okay.
This is a copy of an August will, that one.
Okay. That was your...
These are also black and white
Okay.
pieces showing, there's your Colgates. This is all
This is
gone.
Colgate. This is our neighborhood, Paulus Hook, yeah.
This is Colgate's.
All right.
This is the Hyatt building. Used to
Okay.
be the bank.
Gotcha.
And there's
Oh, this is the Paulus Hook obelisk,
right.
marking the Battle of Paulus Hook.
And I knew the guy who wanted to get this. The original was destroyed. The one that's there now was recreated by a local resident who spent years trying to get it back. So this is over here now.
Okay.
But in those days, it was in the middle of the street.
We got to have you come into our HPHA and give a talk there, okay?
Definitely.
We'd love for you to do that. And let's see over here, what's this now? More
These are more
buildings. You love buildings.
Some of these,
Yeah,
right?
okay.
A lot of these buildings, a number of them, I did not just for realtors, but I did it for the residents. This I did for the development, McGinley Square Development Corporation,
Okay.
showing what this would look like.
Beautiful.
And so on. So that's McGinley Square.
Beautiful. Yeah, we love McGinley Square. And let's look over here. Oh, look at this.
Okay, this I did. This was proposed. Remember I told you about the guy who wanted to do the gambling casino in Newark Avenue?
Yes.
This was another idea, to have a waterfront nightclub.
The Jersey Club. Why not?
Or this, too. Well, it never got off the ground, but you can tell this is Newport because of these buildings.
I see.
So, and then this was the bridge that went to it.
Well, we got to get some things off the ground around here. And let's see over here. What's this?
This is some of the black churches that existed in Jersey City. George Cannon,
Okay.
founder and organizer of one of them, and so on. So these are, and they had like a 100-year anniversary of all the different pastors of this particular church that George Cannon was a part of.
Wonderful.
These are all the pastors. And this was a commemorative poster I did for the church.
You like churches. You like to...
Yeah.
So do we. We love churches, too. Let's take a look over here.
Okay, yeah. Well, this is part of my historic Jersey City. So you're looking at this is the old Christ Hospital that was demolished. This was built in the 1880s, demolished in the 1970s. But look at how beautiful the old building was. That's totally gone. This is a view. I did this in color also. This is also totally gone. This is a view of Duncan Avenue looking west from Bergen Avenue. So these are all apartments now. And down further down is the old Carteret Club that's now St. Dominic's Academy. I think this building's still here, and I drew this for the owner. But these are all gone. And this particular house was
Is this a mansard roof?
yeah.
See, you like the mansard roofs. I like that. Yeah.
And one of the former governors of the state of New Jersey, Edward I. Edwards, that was his boyhood home.
Oh.
So, but it's, it's all gone.
What about
So
this
these
room?
three are gone.
What about this beautiful room that we're in? Look at this room. Could you say a few
I
words?
know.
Look at how
Well,
beautiful.
It's called the Owen Grundy Room. I remember Owen Grundy. He was Jersey City's first official historian. he was one of the people who he was another local activist.
Mm-hmm.
He ran the newspaper in Greenwich Village, but he was born and raised here. He owned a house on Astor Place,
Mm-hmm.
and he wrote a history of Jersey City back in the 1970s as well.
Mm. So you're following in his footsteps, in Owen Grundy's footsteps in
In a way.
some way.
Well, I'm a visual artist, so I'm
You're combining
doing my own
art
thing.
with history in a very unique way that I don't think anybody
Thanks.
else has ever done. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, these are all historical.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so now we're just going to sort of finish this dialogue with Richard, with John Beekman, who's the chief librarian at the main branch of the Jersey City Library. And we want to thank you, John, for helping set up this interview also. You're the one who really made this happen. You facilitated this for us and allowed us to do it here in this wonderful room. So thank you so much for that. And we want to give you just a few moments to talk about whatever you want to say about Richard and his work, and also about the wonderful work that goes on in this library as well.
Sure.
Yeah.
So yes, I am the chief librarian at the Priscilla Gardner Main Library here at the Jersey City Free Public Library. We're in the Owen Grundy room, conference room, named for a city historian of the 1970s who was politically active earlier than that. The library was founded in 1889 and has opened up in 1890 and opened up here at this location in 1901. We currently have 10 branches around the city plus a bookmobile in addition to the Gardner Main Library. I've worked for many years in the local history department here at the library, the New Jersey room. And that's where I got to know Richard and his work documenting the history of the built environment, especially here in Jersey City. Many of his works use images from our collection, but that he really brings to life with his artistic stamp and his way of changing them into line drawings that really have a great deal of charm and interest, and are, very popular with the people who see them and contract for them. So it's been. We're very happy for, the local history collection exists for people doing genealogy, the history of their house, or any other, political history, the things you think of when you hear history. But we're always happy when people make an innovative and creative use of our material. And I think Richard certainly does that. So.
We've always admired this library, my wife and I. The architecture of it and just has a sweetness about it, and it has, we often think that there should be more things going on, or I know there's a lot going on, but we think that, libraries, let's face it, over time, they've kind of gotten this bad rap of being boring compared to bookstores. Bookstores are getting all the attention and the love, but libraries are so important. To the civic life of a nation and of a community. They are so valuable. And anybody watching us now, come to the Jersey City Library. There's so much going on at all the branches, but in particular this main branch. We see, just looking at the flyers coming in, you have creative writing workshops, you have all kinds of things going on. Some sort of book tasting thing going on, where you're combining food with books. What's that?
This is a new a program, a book tasting. I'm not sure if there will be wine involved. To be honest, I've just recently seen that flyer myself. But I can say it will just sort of be a more innovative take on the book club, book discussion things. We try and make it engaging in different ways. But I do appreciate what you say about the public library. And to me, the public library, and one of the reasons I was attracted to this profession, is it was really founded to be sort of the university of the people. And I think the thought behind having free libraries in America is the need for accurate information for the healthy functioning of a democracy. And without drawing too fine a point on it, I think that we see that need needing to be filled today more than ever.
Yes.
And so I think that libraries traditionally, have that traditional role to fill, but at the same time, I do hear what you're saying in terms of the changing climate and of how people look for and find information and how people engage with that. And we have been, since the pandemic, especially, thinking more about how we connect with the community, right? That's like with so many things, that period of time gave us an opportunity to sort of rethink how we do things, and there is certainly a new emphasis on programming and outreach and different ways to bring people in and have them engage with our resources. To be that vital part of the community that I think we always have been.
Well, let's talk about Richard now, the man of the hour.
I'll get off my soapbox.
The man of the hour, yes, indeed. Richard, there was a show about Richard here last year. Talk about that show. You had some music here. Gene DePlummer, I heard, was playing, and it was. You gave a talk, Richard?
Well, I showed my work. I had my work on exhibit. This was April 23rd of last year. We had it upstairs in the multi-purpose room. And it's just basically a celebration of my work being in the archive, because last year I got the grant from the Jersey City Arts and Culture Fund to do so. So I was coming here every day for, how many months? Maybe 5 or 6 months, full-time or part-time, creating my own Dewey Decimal System in essence. And all the categories and subcategories so that this somehow made sense. And not only the small reproductions and originals, but the large reproductions and originals. So I have a little bit of both here. And it's still ongoing, because as long as I'm still alive and still creating artwork, I'm still contributing to it.
Very nice. And John, if you want to say anything about Richard's work, his art, and also people's reaction to it, because his work is on permanent display, I understand, in the
downstairs,
in the New Jersey room.
Sure. So, well, there's a couple things. So the event last year was to mark sort of the culmination or the initial creation of a finding aid for these materials that Richard donated to the library, copies of his work that have become a part of our local history collection. And yeah, that work in creating this finding aid for the list of titles and then cross-referencing them with street addresses and categorizations. I wouldn't call it strictly Dewey Decimal System, but it is an organizational system. I have to be my librarian for my librarian people out there. But it is organized by topic and then by date. But we also do have on display in our information services department on the second floor, our grand reading room. We have several images of sites around the city. The prints of Richard's work on display there, in addition to this collection that's now part of our permanent collection of local history here. And I have always just been fascinated by the way he can just take an image and sort of put his own stamp on it, and it really does bring it to life. And it's a very exciting process to see. And people love the work. I think it's become an identifiable part of Jersey City history. Like, if your house has been documented with a Richard La Rovere, it really makes you a part of Jersey City.
I have hundreds of houses. I have a section of Jersey City residences. It's at least a few hundred of just those individual buildings alone, wherever, downtown, Heights, so on.
Well, we're so glad we got to have you on the show, both of you, and we appreciate your work. Keep up the good work, and I think you're very much a part of what's known as the Renaissance of Jersey City. It's becoming this cool place to be and live, and Claudia and I actually escaped from Hoboken to come to Jersey City. We escaped across the border guards, and we said, no, we want Jersey City because we love the arts and culture here and the diversity of it. They call it America's Golden Door, they call it Chilltown, and we call it home. So thank you all for watching us and for being with us today, and the work will go on.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Thank
It's
you.
been exciting.
Okay.